Hope we're doing well today. It's Sunday, the 8th of March, 2020, and 6 p.m. now. So I hope you're having a good day. This video audio will be entitled Test All Things, because of the fact that what actually do we test in general? As I said previously before, when we pray and ask for guidance from God, we have voices in our head that come from so many different areas. They can be demonic, they can be worldly, mostly worldly, and one of them will be God. So quite often we hear things that aren't of God, and we need to test that. And when we desire something, we need to test it. You know, whether it's a job, whether it's a wife or a husband, or whatever it is you desire. You need to test these things, because guarantee, if God's going to bring something in your life, the devil will often try and bring something, a dodgy version of that something, into your life just before God's going to do so. Yeah, so when you're knocking on doors, just before the door that's going to open for you, that God has to open, that God put the right thing in for you in that door, another door opens, and it's the wrong person. But they can look very similar to the right, to your husband or your wife, or that perfect job you've been looking for. So test all things. Do not ever jump headfirst into something until you understand what you're jumping into. You need to know that this is something that God wants you to get into. And so, yeah, test it. But test it in ways that is going to show it to be a real test. Yeah, if you have a job offer and it's a job you've been asking God for, I mean, first of all, if you're going to ask God for something, then ask God for the details of that job and write down whatever details you think God has given you. Then when the job comes along, check the list. Are the same details there of that job that's now you can see? Yeah, well, that's the first tick. There you go. That's the first little test. You've tested that. Same as a husband or wife. If you want a husband or wife, ask God about the characteristics of that person, or as you get something in your head about the characteristics, you write it down. You say, Lord, what's important to you? Yeah. But also, what's important to you as a human? As the wife or husband of this person that you're asking God for. What's important to you? And write that down. Then when that person comes along, you can check, okay, tick, 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 tick. Right, that's one not tested. Well, then let's test it again. So if it's a job, and that job doesn't involve driving, then why not ask for an office car? Yeah, for a car to come with a job, for a work car, and for diesel or petrol to be included in that. Now, of course, if it's not God that's pushing this job to you, or if it's not God that's making this happen, you won't get that, because you don't need a car, so they won't give you a car. But if they give you the car, you can even test it again. Think of something else that they would be unlikely to give you, very unlikely to give you, because it's not necessary, and ask for it. Test it. And when you've tested it twice, then you know, okay, that's God. Don't take the mickey. Don't make a massive long list of things that you're asking for, because God's going to say, no, there you go. You had the perfect job, testing it once or twice, that's fine. If necessary, ask for a bonus for that job, but then give the bonus back to the employers, or give the bonus to a charity. Yeah, if that's the extra test and that comes, give it away. And when you're praying for a husband or wife, test it. There was one test I heard that was, you would say, a very good test, a very strong test, brutal in some ways, quite harsh, but it worked. This man was in the church, and a lady came up to him and said that God had told her that he was going to be her husband. The man said to the woman, "Sorry, I don't believe in that. I don't see where you got that from. I suggest you go away and you pray about it." He then spoke to God, went to God and said, "Lord, if this is you, then she will get on her hands and knees and crawl down the aisle of the church and ask me to marry her." Well, next week she crawled down the aisle of the church and asked him to marry her. He said no. He said, "I don't mean to be horrible, but I have to say no on this occasion." Then he went back to God and said, "Lord, if it really is you, she'd do this again." Next week, she did it again. Now, of course, he said yes to her this time. But you think that anyone else would have done that? That anyone who's not meant for you would do that? Once? Probably not. Twice? Definitely not. Let's say that's the thing that a lot of people would never ask for, because that's subduing the woman to a certain degree. But that's why it was a perfect test. That's why it is a very good test to use, because of the fact that it's not in human nature to desire to be subdued, certainly twice. To put yourself out there and be kicked back in such a way once is terrible. You wouldn't do it again. So doing it again shows that this really is God. And so, fantastic. You're then in a situation where you have a wonderful husband or wife, where you know for a certainty that God has put this together. Because that reaches another point, actually. That brings in another issue that was on my mind last night. As I was laying there thinking about things, and I have a situation myself, which I've mentioned before in previous videos, where I wrote down a number of years ago the wife that I want. And I think I've met her now. And it's weird, whenever I think about her, whenever I see her, it's just wow. Yeah. Completely, yeah, this is her. This is the person I'm supposed to be with. I just know it within me. So I'm not going to make any advancement on her in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to test it and wait and see what happens, because I don't know this woman. I could be completely wrong. She may not be the person I should be with. She may already be married, in which case any advance from me would be pretty bad. So, yeah, I need to just focus on my relationship with God and making sure that I'm ready, that if it is her or someone else, that I'm going to be the best husband I can be. So that situation will have to be tested. But I would also say to her, if she does come to me and say that she believes that God is saying that I'm supposed to be her husband, I will tell her to test it. Because it's important to make sure you're right. Because if you're right, then if it's what God is putting together, then you know it's going to work. You know it's going to be the relationship perfectly made for you by God, that there is no other human being on earth that could be as good for you as this person. And that's like, wow, okay. That just gives you so much confidence that, you know, you can say, right, okay, we get married right now. As soon as you know that for certainty, right, that's it. Why are we going to muck around? There you go. There's no need to delay things once you really, really know. Yeah, all this mucking around. So that brings up another point, is that whosoever God joins together, that no man separates. The point there is whosoever God joins together. Because there are a lot of marriages with Christians and non-Christians, but especially with Christians, that God has not joined together. Two people that God did not put together. Many of those have ended in divorce, and they've ended in divorce because God did not put those two people together. Yeah, they got together, they got sexual. And because they got sexual, they believed, well, you know, we like each other, we're sexual, so we should get married. It doesn't mean that God put you together. It just means you should have repented and gone to God and said, well, okay, yeah, what's the issue here? Yeah, we like each other. What should we do? But if you're with somebody and God didn't put you two together, but you truly love each other and you truly want to stay together and you want to be joined, then there's no reason whatsoever why you can't be. You just need to go to God and ask God to do that, to join you two together spiritually. With His blessing upon your relationship. And actually, that brings up another point. Joining together. Because joining together is something that I've never heard spoken about in church. I'm not surprised that I've never heard it spoken about in church. Because you look at Abraham, when Abraham married Sarah, it says when Abraham entered Sarah, they were joined in marriage. And we know that the old styley-wiley of marriage, and that a marriage wasn't counted as union had been joined until the two people had joined in lovemaking. Put it that way. Into the LT went into the INI. Yeah, they weren't counted as husband and wife. And so many people in churches are joined to many others because before they became a Christian, they were sexually active and they were active with many different people. So they joined in marriage to every single person they've been active with sexually. Even while being a Christian, they've been joined to other people sexually. And so they're joined spiritually to every one of those people, joined as in marriage to each of those people. So therefore, part of the job of the church is to cut people off of those marriages, to separate them from the people that they've been joined to in the past, so that they can be free, that when they get married, they can be free to just be joined to that person. That was Lucy who just made that noise. Because they've just had their food. They had their food a bit later today because I wanted to go down the gym, and that's just the way things worked out today. They had food quite late, and then they had breakfast earlier. Yeah, and Chewie, my fluffy boy, he likes to be fed by me. So they all had their breakfast. So they've been fed twice so far. Yeah, the issue of joining, yep, that's been covered. But that's a very important thing to mention because, generally speaking, that is not understood in the church. Church has very little understanding of that, and the teaching has been minimal. Even though it's a very, very important thing to preach, especially to people that are getting married. You want to make absolutely certain that they're not actually still joined to someone else when you join them in marriage. So the legal bit in marriage is where you sign that piece of paper. That's got nothing to do with Christianity at all. And what the church does, the church can't marry people in any way, shape, or form. That's not what they do. They give a blessing. So if you're going to get married to someone quickly, not a problem. Book yourself into a registry office, do the paperwork that therefore counts you as married, then get a blessing from your fellowship. And when you get a blessing from your fellowship, have your fellowship understand that if they are there giving a blessing, that they are there to actually ensure as best they can that marriage works. Them being invited as your family. Now your family has a duty to help you to deal with any issues in your marriage, to try and make sure that marriage works. There is a contract between you and them when you have that blessing at church, or as is often understood, when you get married at the church. That's the point. You can do your legal bit at church, which is often done, but you don't need to do it that way, because, put it this way, you might have to wait ages before you can do it that way, because most churches like to have every little thing organised nicely, so it can take ages to do. You can't just do a quick, there you go, in out, as you can with a registry office. So yeah, once God has pointed out to you that you're supposed to be with that person, you understand it, why wait? Why wait? I mean, you don't really need the legal bit. You don't. The legal bit is only for the world situations. If one of you dies, then the inheritance goes straight to the other person. Or if you divorce, then all that's dealt with nicely. But now you don't need that for divorce now, because of the fact that if you've been living with someone for, I think, 2 years, you count as 50-50. So there's a 50-50 split when you divorce anyway. I'm not sure if that works with regards to inheritance. I don't think it does. But that's why I think the legal bit comes into it. But that's not something that we need to worry about too much, because of the fact that we let God deal with that situation. We let God make sure that if we pass, then our loved one is taken care of. But do the worldly bit if you wish, but you don't have to. That's the point. You're still married, even though you haven't done that bit, because if you understand God wants you two together, all you have to do is join as in marriage, which is the physical, sexual bit, and you are therefore joined. You don't need to do anything else. You make a commitment to each other. You don't need to do all your lines and all that stuff. That's all nonsense anyway. But test all these things beforehand, because of the fact that once you give your heart away, it's really difficult if you're in a bad situation. Really, really, really difficult, especially if you believe God has put you two together and you're not going to let anyone separate it, because that's the point. When it says where God has put two together, that not man separate, that includes you. That includes you not separating your own relationship from your own partner, you not doing it. So if you understand that, you're going to try your best to make sure you don't get divorced. And if you're in a situation that God hasn't put together, then you're better off separated anyway. Certainly if it's not going well, you're better off just separating and repenting of the sexual sin that you've been involved in, and then go and speak to someone who's in the deliverance ministry to get you separated from each other spiritually. That's about it, really. I mean, the reason why this was on my mind is because I went to the gym today. I didn't do a workout because I've been working out for 10 days straight up until about 3 days ago. My body does need a rest. So I just went in the sauna, but that was nice because I was speaking to a young lady there today who, I think her name was Ginny. So if you can pray for Ginny, because she's a primary school teacher, quite a young lady, but she wants her own family. And so I said to her, I'll pray for her in the end, that within 5 years' time, she will have the family that she desires. So if we can all pray for that. As I say, I told her I'd pray for it. I told her that it's something she believes, so we're agreeing on that prayer. Yeah. So, yeah, 2 children, loving husband within 5 years. So by 2025 for Ginny. And yeah, so it's a case again. She's not a Christian, but trying to sort of help her to realise that, yeah, God loves her and God wants this for her. So, yeah, I'm not really an evangelist. I don't really evangelize to people. I don't really speak about God that much. Because of the fact that I've known people to be quite offended by the fact that, some people overly do that and can be overly heavy. So I tend not to do that very much. So today was quite good because I did sort of do it. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad sort of outing today. I can see now why I was meant to be there. So that's good. So yeah, test all things. Let's say when you're asking about a certain situation, speak to God, ask God to give you details of whether it be the person or whether it be the position or whatever else it may be that you're praying for. And then when that opportunity arises or that person comes, you can start the testing process because you've already got something to test against. So right, these are the things that God has said will be part of that or part of them. And so right, tick, 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 done. Or actually, no, these all fail. So I've got to really start the process off a bit tougher now because they were failed. So if they were failed, then yeah. If we've got to have 3 passes, which is really 2 parts, we're going to have 2 passes really. So the checklist, as in the things that God has said, this person or the position should be. That's 1 tick, and then the testing of the situation afterwards is the second one. You can go 1 more if you wish. I won't go more than 3 in totality. But yeah, try and be as sure as you can be. Because put it this way, yeah, Christianity is hard. Life is hard. Yeah, although Paul said he'd rather that we denied that sort of thing and just serve God. It's a case where God knows that for us to really serve Him, we need someone to help us to do that, and we do. And sorry, that was Chewie Brown. No idea why no one's hearing. He thinks that one of the females is in the heat, which she's not. So whenever his son Riley gets anywhere near that female, Chewie starts to be growly. So it's like, okay. You take care, folks. Have a wonderful week. It's Sunday now, so you've got the week ahead. I pray you have a great week and you have examples of God blessing you from this week coming. You have a fantastic week and I will speak to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.